Right. So just check your mic. We're good. We're good.
Shot one, take one.
So Livingroom was formed on January the 26th, 2006. And here we are today, celebrating our 20th anniversary in 2026. So today is just about some very honest and open discussion about how we got there and why we got there. So I hope you find it interesting, and I don't bore the living daylights out of you, but it's a nice way for us to document Livingroom and mark our 20th anniversary with just a little bit of background as to who we are and where we are today. A lot's happened in 20 years. I guess the best way to kind of describe it is to kind of to start at the beginning and be as human as possible about the journey that it's been along the way, I guess. So I grew up in Guernsey in a family where my parents were, pretty well-known entrepreneurs. So I guess ambition is in my blood. I was always going to be ambitious. I was always encouraged from a really young age to be creative. I was that really weird child that from a really early age, when, mates were out playing with action men and, jumping off of banks and climbing trees, I was quite quietly sat drawing houses. So I guess this goes back a lot further than anyone probably even realizes. I've got a table here with a few things on, and it's been a bit of a day. So I was up in the attic this morning seeing what I could find for this video, and I have gone through some old stuff, and this will kind of give you an idea the strange mind of Simon. So this was in 1991. So I would have been, 14, I think? Yeah. So at 14, I was doing things like this, designing houses, drawing, technical drawing, looking at, it's very strange. Drawing houses here, look, interior design, 1992. 15 years old, obsessed with houses, I think is probably the best way. This is the weirdest one. It was 1993. So this was an imaginary house that I designed. It was the full floor plan, the brick paving, the borders, the swimming pool, everything fully named and itemized as to what it was. Or the drawing of the kitchen. It goes on. I found so many up in the attic. It's absolutely hilarious. 1990, so I would have been 13 when I drew that. All the 80s interior design. I mean, this is proper 80s here. It's even earlier. I think this just made me laugh. Right, here we go. Where are we? So, for my GCSEs, when I was 15, my project was to take a building in St. Peterport, brand it, put a business into it, and create a whole thing about a brand. And that was an estate agency. So back at 15, I had come up with this idea to create an estate agency. I have to show you this because it is quite weird. Doorsteps Property Shop. It's a very strange name, but quite weird that it would be quite out there back at that time again. But that's how the details would look, how the property details would look. And this was, you've got to bear in mind, I mean, this is 1992, long before anyone was doing a lot of this kind of stuff. So I even designed the building, how the building would look, and the brands. internally how the building would look. It's very blue and yellow, it's very 1980s. How the boardroom would look. And then, look here, this is a property pack. So this is actually designing how the property details. Obviously back then the internet didn't exist. So what would accompany the property in the pack. So what have we got here? Smith and Tanguy, Simon Lovell, Lausanne, Spectrum Interiors, they've long gone. But it would be these sort of elements that would be house related, but not immediately a house. They would be lifestyle orientated. So, yeah, I guess it was kind of written in the stars really, as to what I was going to do when I was doing this when I was 15. Yeah, yet again, strange child. Floor plans, full technical drawings of the elevations. Exactly as probably I'd do a floor plan now. Oh, this is funny. Look at this. Branded cars. We were the first agency in 2006, 2007 to do branded vehicles. But this was my idea right back in 1992. So, and the branding and how the whole thing would sort of come together. Oh, the logo, look at this, look. Doorsteps, hilarious. And then, this is weird. A uniform, hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. God. Icons. So icons actually didn't really come into the industry until, I'd say, probably well into the 2000s. But I wanted my agency to have them back at the early 90s. So I guess that's pretty crazy. That's the building. That's the building. There we go. Doorsteps, property shop. Very weird, strange child. Again, marketing is kind of everything really, and how we sort of position ourselves and what we do, and that does go back to my background. And I guess there's no greater way to describe how we can integrate property and design to what I was doing as a child, in 1991. So marketing has been a big thing for us. I came across these. Look, these are some really early adverts for Livingroom. So this would be in 2006. So there we are, Simon, Elka and Sally. Love Sally. We were there at the beginning when we opened the office. There's the branding. You can see it was slightly different. The concentric circles were to the side. A lot of people don't really realise what the concentric circles mean. My mission statement is the same today as it was when we started the company. And it's no matter how big or small your house is, you'll get the same level of treatment. So you'll get that sort of infinite circle motion and the same level of treatment, no matter whether it's a £150,000 house or I wish you could buy a house for £150,000 studio flat. Well, not even that. Actually, God, that goes back now, doesn't it? Really, that's the difference between 2006, I guess. Anyway, we'll use that as a reference point. 100. Well, where we start now? Oh God, that's a bit scary. Let's say 250,000. So 250,000 for a studio flat to 25 million and everything in between. Everyone gets the same level of attention and focus from us as a team. I always remember actually, a conversation got back to me. One of my ex-colleagues at Martel Made said, I just don't get it. I don't understand what he's trying to do. and that was a major driver for me. And then we sold more property than them at that stage for every year that we were open. And then I think they suddenly got it. I think they suddenly realised. And I've seen them all in recent years, and they all sort of said, "Well done, Simon. You know, you've done a lot," and that means a lot. Look at this. We've got these original details here. So, photographs of, and it was a bit out there, corners of staircases and vases and things that were very, very different from how other agencies were. I always remember that one, de Beauvoir Terrace, number 8. So the house wasn't even in focus, but the foreground was. We definitely stood out. That was the front door. I remember that house. That was on the way down to Kobo. So the main lead shot was the stained glass window, a section of. Gosh, I can still remember the name of the owner. So yeah, so those are some original details, and they kind of make you realise sort of how far you've come. We did a photo shoot when we launched the company, and oh, that's strange. What's that doing in there in the attic? Oh, some strange postcard. Right, okay. So we did a photo shoot where Elka and I disassembled her bed and dragged it around the island, and chairs. So we borrowed a van, and I don't know if those people in Guernsey, I wanted to sort of look at the environment in which we were working in and look at it differently and launch with a bit of a difference. So at this time, we borrowed a lot of this and had a lot of this in our own homes. And then we took this furniture and just plonked it in the island, around the island. I've got those Elka's sun loungers down on Saints Harbour. Oh, there's the brand, look. So when I talk about the concentric circles, it's these circles here. So it was red back then, it was all red, white. Oh, there you go. So that's the, gosh, it really does take me back. I remember doing it. We had a right laugh doing it as well. People looking at us like we're completely barking mad, lugging a bed along the beach and dressing it and putting a duvet on it and the bed on the beach. So marketing, there we go. So it kind of started with impact. We've got all sorts on here actually. So marketing has been a big thing, and I, as a designer, I always dreamed of, I was doing it for other clients, but I always dreamed of producing my own publication. Producing my own publication was something that was a big driver for me, and this is the first. So look at this size. So long before a lot of the lifestyle magazines and people were producing these large scale books and sort of luxury lifestyle books. So this was autumn 2006, and this was the very, very first Living Life. There we are. Oh my gosh. Wow. It does take me back. Elka, myself and Sally, all I need is a fishing rod. I could be a gnome on a rock there, look. I look so young. Terrifyingly young. If there's one thing that the industry is not good for, it's aging you dramatically. Talking about tradition and talking about ambition alongside one another, and looking at old Guernsey characters, and then where they are and where we can add. Oh look, there's Andrew Dyke. I really remember that shot being taken actually in the snail house. as we go through. Gosh, Jamie Fuller, Ben Muark, James Barker, Create, Drew Robertson, Donnell Robertson. So it's really interesting to go back over the very, very first one. That's Tony Leck. Yeah, and it goes on really. Paul Brady. Yeah, really revolutionary. So people like Paul were really inspirational at the time when they took a space and they renovated it and they made it look really futuristic. And Chris Martel did such a great job at that time in the design of that space to make it feel like it was really otherworldly, and certainly not in Guernsey. Oh, here you go again, getting a bit carried away. I've got door knockers here, look. Photographs on walls. Night lighting. No one ever did night lighting. I couldn't quite understand. This was a lovely house, La Concha. I remember it really well. Sold it a couple of times since then. We've got some stuffed animals on that one. So, look, I guess we were always going to be different. These books were really important back in the day for me. They really cemented us. And they really gave us an ability to reach a target market. So here's the white one. This was 2007. Uncoated stock, that was a big thing. Lots of sort of lifestyle photography. Rocket cider back there, my gosh. In their early days. Mr. Fuller. So this was Capel's youth club. That was then we were involved with the renovations of the building and in mapping them out and actually naming the development Les Salles, which was it meant sort of community space or the meeting room, and then we each individually named the houses and the development thereof. So it goes much, much further than just the obvious. I guess no one was doing it. It's the lifestyle element. It's bringing in lifestyle into property and presenting it in a different way. Oh, God, these photos are hilarious. Where are we here? Alka, myself, Sally, Lisa Vidamore, Ali Lihu, Jay. So we've got more stories with Jay actually. So actually shortly after this, when produced this with Jay, Jay came to work for Livingroom, and I always remember at the time I said, why do you want to come to work for Livingroom? You know, we should be doing something together. So we did, so Jay came into the office, and at that point he was working, we didn't have any spare desks out within the main area, and he was working literally from the cupboard next to the photocopier, and that's where the Potting Shed advertising agency was formed. The pair of us are the founders of, and that's where we established our very own independent advertising agency. I'm not involved with it today because my main focus really has to be on Livingroom, and to do both would mean that each would be stretched. So it was really nice to get involved with that level of marketing and branding for other companies along the way. And I always remember they did a, where is it? Oh, here it is. So this is in 2008. This is a Guernsey Press from 2008. And there was an article in here talking about ambition. So I've kept all of this, which is actually really nice to go back. There you go. Grand designs become a reality. With the circles, actually, they look more like nipples there. Just 31, entrepreneur Simon Torrode And they put living room as 2 words. I bloody hate it when people put living room as 2 words. It's 1 word. It's a brand. It's not a room within a house. It's one, and it still irritates me to this day, actually. And I do correct people. So forgive me if I've ever corrected you for putting it as 2 words, but it's definitely 1. I got that on camera. Look, this talks about entrepreneurialism, and at that time I was also doing Bright Young Things for Schroders, which was like a Dragon's Den style entrepreneurial show, actually, at St James. So we each took people and gave them entrepreneurial advice. I mean, what did I know? I was only 31, but I gave it a damn good go. And I was alongside the late, great Tom Scott and Ian Walker, and God, there were a few of us. Very special, actually, and real honour to be asked, aged just 31, to be part of that. And giving advice to others. And I think that's really, really important in the Channel Islands, is to sort of focus on, you have got resource here and you have got people to inspire you. It's just a question of how you meet them, or how they stumble upon you, or vice versa. I stumbled across someone who was really important for me, actually, as well. In my creative career, and Dame Mary. So I was at a friend's parents' Christmas drinks do, and they were there. And I remember Mary saying to me, "What do you do? What's your thing?" And I said, "Well, I'm creative. I'm going to go to art school." And she said, "You must come into Specsavers and meet the team. And come and meet the creative team and see if we can be of any help." She has no idea how important something like that is to a young creative. When I did go in to meet the team, and I actually had a summer job, so I worked all the way through Christmas holidays, Easter holidays, and summer holidays for 4 years. And Specsavers are, without question, a life-changing company for me, that I was able to go in as a student and given actual projects. So when I finished university, I already had a whole body of work that was actually published. And that's a big deal for a creative. And that's down to Mary, and that's down to that conversation that we had at that dinner party, and how people like that, people like her, people like Dave Fuller, there are so many important people in my history, certainly in Guernsey, that have changed my creative path. And I owe an awful lot to them. And I guess this is an opportunity just to say thank you. I was really lucky at school. I had the most amazing teachers, particularly art teachers. And Dave Fuller was an amazing inspiration to me. He was my calm amongst some, pretty complicated teenage years trying to figure out who I was. And this particular teacher quietly encouraged students and just provided a platform for them to be creative. And you don't really realize back then how important your informative years and the support that you get to be creative actually means. I then went on A-levels, whatever, and went to uni and did an art foundation in Winchester School of Art, which was amazing, great fun. So a year of a lot of fun, and then I moved on and did a BA honours in graphic design and photography in the west of England in Bristol. And from there, there was a competition. It was quite interesting, actually. In the University of the West of England, ambition was something that divided the people that were there. So as ever with art school, you had you had some students with, you know, green hair and piercings, and then you had some students that clearly weren't of that ilk. And then I always fitted into that more sort of commercial minded creative. I always remember Aardman Animation was based in my building, so the start of Wallace and Gromit, and watching that, and that whole inspiration of ambition and what could be achieved. So there was a national competition from an agency in London. I'd finished my degree, and to win a job. And yet again, ballsy as ever, I entered this competition, did this design brief, and I won my first job in London in a competition for the marketing partnership, and David Drake's thank you. So while a lot of my peers at that time were struggling to get work in the creative world, David laid this job out on a table for me. And so I joined, moved to London, and had the most amazing start to my creative career, where he could see it. He could see the ambition that I had. And, you know, I arrived as T-boy, and then left there as a creative able to handle client work, and just generally yet again, support in the creative world is so important. So I was working in Hatton Garden above a bookies, and you know, watching loads of people sort of coming through the building who were really interesting, and people who had done amazing things and built companies that were needing creative branding, and then so that really was the path that I went down. So looking at businesses and how I can make them better creatively, and that sort of was the start of my career, really. From there, I did all sorts in London. I became a creative director by the time I'd left London, and working with some really amazing brands in various different agencies. As always in the advertising world, you move around a bit between agencies. I worked for the BBC. I worked for quite a lot of different independent agencies, and worked on some amazing projects. And the last one wasn't so great. And I guess that's one of those life lessons when you work somewhere where it doesn't quite work. And I think that's when it was a sudden realization that team is everything. And support, again, keep going back to it. But that was a really big thing for me. I didn't get it in that job. I wasn't happy. And I kind of had enough. My best friend knew that. And I remember the phone call when she called me and she said, "Right, Simon, we're going travelling." I said, "I can't, I've just bought a house." She said, No, we're going travelling. There's always a way. So I did. I put the phone down, walked into my boss's office and said, "I'm handing my notice in." And then that was another big chapter for me, and another moment to kind of reset where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. So we buggered off around the world for a year, and had the most amazing time. 850 quid, 8 stops around the world from Trailfinders. I wish we could do that now. So Antonio and I had the most amazing year. It was just phenomenal, life-changing. And I realised when I was away and had a chance to think that what I really lacked as a direct designer was the client contact. And that was something that was really important to me. To be able to interact with the clients. So in the ad world and creative world, the account execs would normally take that role. So you'd kind of be sort of sidelined and put behind a wall as a creative. And the account execs would obviously then take center stage. And for me, I just wanted that client interaction. I've always loved property, as I've clearly shown. And, you know, it was a moment where I came back to Guernsey after travelling, and I was in my friend Zoe's parents' house on Rougerie Avenue. And her dad, Trevor, was sat around the kitchen table. And I remember it really, really clearly because he was reading the newspaper. And he's an incredible businessman. I mean, this man has done a lot. And I have great admiration for him. From a business perspective, he's an absolute giant. And he sat around the table and he said, "Have you seen this, Simon?" And he opened the Guernsey press, and in there was an advert, and it said, "Martell Maids trainee negotiator wanted." And I thought, maybe. And I remember Trevor saying, "Don't go to London, don't go back." I said, "Yeah, but I quite want to go back." He said, "Don't go back. You know, you'll be working for Foxtons for, 10 grand a year. You could be doing this for 12 grand a year here in Guernsey, get some experience, and then go to London." So that's what I did. And then I went and had the interview, and the rest is history, really. And that's kind of how I started in the property world. So I started as tea-boy at Martell Maids, which, to give some perspective, is actually now Savills in Guernsey. But it wasn't Savills then. It was very much an independent, very carefully managed, very special place to work with some amazing people, some amazing mentors to learn from. Clive, Richard, Nick, Peter, as my directors. Phenomenal, each phenomenal in their field, and incredibly well connected. And back then, I was in the heady days of long Friday lunches, and you'd rarely go back to work in the afternoon on a Friday. Oh, I wish we could get those days back, but they're long gone. So it was an amazing opportunity to learn. I used to get into so much trouble. So I'm quite nonconformist, and I kind of push against boundaries. I always have done. I've always been the one to slightly sort of stand up and say no. Oh God, I used to get in so much trouble. I used to be late most mornings. I used to have to be in for 8:30. And that was always a struggle. Hated wearing ties. So there were so many mornings when Peter used to pull me into the boardroom, and I'd arrive in the office and I hadn't had my tie on just yet. And who wants to wear a tie after you just got to have a shower? And, it was very much suit, tie, probably what, not to be offensive to them by any means, but how we would now refer to as sort of male, pale, stale environment. And, it was never really very me. I tried, but it was never very me. And I guess that kind of got me thinking on how can I evolve? How can I change? What can I do? And the reality is, I am a designer. I'll always be a designer. I'll always be a creative. And to be able to add that creative element into the property process was something that was really lacking. So I started work just as they were finishing using film cameras, taking the film reels, walking the film reels up to Boots, getting them developed, and then coming back to the office with them developed, and then sticking them onto A4 black and white bits of paper. And they were the property brochures. I was always going to be nonconformist. I was always going to be their absolute nightmare. I was always going to be that person that was going to kind of butt up against this whole sort of tie, pinstripe suit environment. It's just not me. So yeah, pulled into the boardroom many times, told off for being late or told off for not having my tie on. And creatively, I just wanted more. I just wanted to be able to add more. So I did try. I did sort of say to them at the time, I said, can I help you with the advertising? Can I help you with that? Oh, no, that's not your remit. You're there to sell houses. And so it got me thinking what I wanted to do. So very quietly, I just had this concept in my head to try and merge property with design. And I went for lunch with my then bank manager, Neil, and who was also involved with sort of private client work with Barclays. And I said to him, we had some conversations about mortgages, conversations about all of that and the industry. And then at the end of it, I said, I would really like to open my own agency, but I need you to lend me 150,000. And then he sort of chuckled and he said, "Are you being serious?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I want to do this." I had my laptop with me. It was a chunky, great big block at the time. And I went, "I'm going to show you something." And I spat it around and I opened it up and I came to the relevant imagery. And I said, "That's what I want to do." And I actually, at that point, had the name, I had the brand, I had the logo, I had a few conceptual ideas of how the brand would look. And it was all preformed, it was all there. I just sold his house for him and he believed in me. And I was at the very, very end of an ability to get a bank loan, an unsecured bank loan. And, things changed rapidly in the financial climate after that. So I was really timely. So I borrowed 150 grand and I quietly set Livingroom up behind the scenes. And then I worked with, and it's really important that do talk about her as well. So I worked with a lady called Elka, who I was incredibly fond of. And we were really good mates. And we, like Tweedledum and Tweedledee, we got up to a lot of mischief together and had a lot of laughs together. And so I persuaded her, once I was set up, to come and join. And she did. And so she was there at the very start of Livingroom. I think it's really important to acknowledge that she was there at the very start. And thank you, Elka, for everything that happened at that point in terms of, giving each other, I guess, the strength and the power to do it. Things didn't work out for us as business partners, but I respect her massively and I do wish her well to this day. So there we go. That's kind of how Livingroom started, really. And all of that was 2005. Yeah, 2005. We launched January the 26th, 2006. It's a really difficult question. What's been the biggest challenge to date? Oddly, not the houses. The houses have been the easy bit. I guess people. Everyone's different. Everyone has a different response to life, I guess. Some emotive, some commercial, some practical, and some irrational. As an agent, you get put into people's worlds, sometimes at their most emotional. So you're part counsellor, part psychotherapist. So that kind of does make it quite difficult, and it also makes it really enjoyable. It makes it, so the process is kind of the same for what you do, but every house is different, every person is different, so there's never a second day that's the same. Even when people sell historically multiple times over the years, their circumstance of sale or what they're buying is different, so there's never the same deal twice. And I think that's what's really exciting as an agent. Staff, loyalty, trust. I'm exceptionally lucky. I've had some really long-standing members of staff. Toby, you're one of them. How long now?
13th year.
13 years, there you go. Jason is going to be sort of 17, 18 years now, probably 18 actually. Sophie is, I think Sophie's 16 years, maybe coming up to 17 years. People have been with me for a really long time, and that's amazing. Staff come and go. As ever, like I was, I guess, back in Martel Maid's days when I left, and to say that I was setting up my own agency, other people will do that to me, and I just have to take that on the chin and reflect back on the fact that that's what I did. So there is that. But it does kind of slightly cut deep when you invest in people and when you spend time really nurturing people, and then it sort of goes. But people change, things change, circumstance changes. I'd say the biggest challenge will be, I guess, people. I think you're quite vicious with that snapper.
I am, yeah.
What is my happiest living room memory?
Employing Toby.
You're hilarious. A team is everything. We've got so many. We have fun, and I think that's the bottom line, is that you kind of remember that we go out there and do a job and be professional, but we can also, when we come into the office in our own environment, we can also, we're good support for each other. Hugely special memory for me that I never thought would be possible is winning Best International Property Marketing at the International Property Awards in 2017, 2018, I think that one was, where we were up against really big multinational companies with sort of tens or hundreds of offices around the world, and we won, which kind of cements back to my passion of being a property marketeer, and so I was able to, alongside the team, win the most prestigious property marketing award that there possibly ever is.
The award then for Best International Estate Agency Marketing will go to Livingroom Estate Agents.
So proud and happy. Was hilarious. I was at the Savoy Hotel in London picking up the award. I didn't know that I had won it. So I was videoing Stuart Shield up on stage and making the announcements, and I dropped the phone when they mentioned our name, and it's a really funny video because you can just see the phone go down, and I was a bit speechless. I didn't know quite how to react to that. So look, that is a very, very happy memory. There have been lots, but that's one. Winning the Achievement Awards in Guernsey Best New Business in 2012, I think that was. That was really special. In a room, Beaux Jours, with 1,000 people. That was very special and quite controversial. I was told there were some people that weren't in support of that because I was just an estate agent. So, yeah. How has the concept of home evolved for both you and your clients since the company began? Exponentially. When I first started, we were sticking photos, as I mentioned earlier onto developed film photos onto bits of paper. And in that time, obviously, the internet has completely changed the way in which properties are marketed. Even then, we're getting great changes even now. So, yeah. How would I say this? I guess home is now more fluid. I guess home isn't just a bit of paper. Home, there's much more to home, shall we call it. So whether it's video, whether it's marketing, photography, we were the first agency to actually pretty much in the UK to have a full creative team within the agency, and that's how we were winning all the awards back in the day. Because we were different, and then since then, you see people copy, and we say copy, but evolve. We were just kind of there first. Marketing, social media. Social media's been amazing in terms of connectivity and direct connectivity. So, being able to, we had our first Facebook page, I think, Toby, was it 2006? I think right at the very, very beginning, was 2008? I can't remember. Right at the very, very beginning, we had a Facebook page, and we were the first agency to do it. So we were able to get properties out through social media. So direct contact to known people or subscribers, and that was immediate. So rather than having to wait for details to reach them via the post, this was something very different. And we grew our following. We can, as a company now, we can reach well in excess of 50,000 people within digital clicks. So I think we're 60 plus or something now, I need to check. So it's instantaneous. Even that's changed. So, we don't actually release an awful lot on Facebook anymore. Facebook is, as I'm told by my godchildren and my nieces, if you're on Facebook, you're old. But if you're old and you're on Facebook, then to be fair, you tend to actually be a potential client. You tend to have means or the ability to transact. So actually, where the kids are telling me that, you're old if you're on Facebook, it actually does have an effect. But we don't actually post on there as much as we used to. We use Instagram a lot with 3 Instagram channels: Livingroom Property, Livingroom Guernsey, and Livingroom Jersey. And we use Instagram a lot. And portals. Portals are really important now. Portals never existed before. So, places like On the Market, Places in Jersey, places.je. Ben created a great product with Places in Jersey, where he's got really good control of the market, because all the agents are on it, all the agents that need to be on it are on it. And then in Guernsey, you've got under one roof. Internationally, we reach a lot further, actually. So certainly for people coming in, or HVRs looking, whether it be James Edition, whether it be Prime Location, Zoopla, On the Market. So some of the big boys that we pay an awful lot of money to be on, but they're really effective, and they have complete international reach. So as a little agency in the islands that is independent and is not governed by an international brand, we can still get to the same people that the international brands reach, because their reliance is just on those portals too. So in actual fact, when people say to us, I'm not sure if you're going to have the international reach, maybe we should go for a big brand. I said, well, there you go. Well, firstly, we beat them in all of the awards that we've ever entered. But secondly, no one knows the Channel Islands better than us. And we're the only pan-island agency, and call ourselves the one and only Channel Island estate agent. And that we are. And we have reach. So yeah, I guess there's so much more to it. I just feel like the more I say, I'm going to bore the living daylights out of you. So I'm not going to say any more. But yeah, exponentially changed. If you want to know more, let's have a coffee. Trust your instinct for. Always remember. As I mentioned earlier, an ex-colleague saying, I just don't get it. Things like that were huge drivers for me. And so have faith in what you want to do. And clearly I was, doing it back in my early teenage years, where I was sort of mapping out what I wanted to do. Have faith in it, have confidence in it, and just make it happen, just work hard. The one thing that this business has evolved from is me working absolutely ludicrous hours, and it's got in the way of relationships, it's got in the way of so many things over the years, that working has kind of been sort of critical for me and key for me. So work hard, And the results now are that I'm sat around the table talking about our 20th anniversary, and that makes me really happy. It's been 20 years of Livingroom. Where do you hope Livingroom will be in another 20 years? I'll be old. Yeah, I'll be just shy of 70, so it won't be with me, but it could be with the team. It could be in other guys. I don't really know, actually, to be honest with you. The industry's changed so much. Who knows what's going to happen with AI? Who knows, how that's going to affect the industry or change the industry dynamic? All will, I guess, become clear. All I know is that right now we sort of will work year to year and do our very best. 20 years later, we are selling a lot of property. Last year we sold 250 million of property, which I'm incredibly proud of. This year, who knows? Fresh year, new year, new start. You're only as good as your last deal, and all of that. It's hugely competitive. I mean, the market is so competitive. We are a heavy business model. I mean, there's 30 staff, and we each and every one have a place within the business. So how that looks and changes and evolves, I don't really know. All I know is that right now we're in a really good place, and long may that continue. 20 years down the line, I'm sure there'll be an evolution of, hopefully the company is still around and we're still evolving and still leading the charge in terms of property marketing and client service, but all will become clear, I guess. For each and every person that has supported Livingroom in the 20 years that we have been operational, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Quite simply, couldn't have done it without you. And every single house, every single person has mattered to us as a team. Thank you.